All right. Welcome back, everybody. I'm like a little bit nervous about my audio today, not gonna lie. Okay, it's good because I cannot see nothing in the software that I've been using. But it's episode 4. I'm kind of behind today on top of everything because there is an event that I want to take part in or watch, that's coming up in like 15 minutes, but I still feel like it's important to kind of keep the schedule going. So, today I was kind of wondering like what's the next topic I think that is important to cover because we're still kind of at the beginning of um, a lot of the episodes that we've been recording and everything. So if you have not joined us for any previous episodes, welcome. But also welcome back to the Crawl Walk Run show. And um, the first few episodes, we've kind of been setting the stage. And I have been trying to be transparent as well in the fact that over the past, especially the past few months, I have been on a reset for myself, which is I am like, finally pivoting towards the area that I've been most passionate about over the last few years, which is AI and machine learning, and really trying to go all in on I guess leveling up and changing, my trajectory from traditional software engineering into that realm. And but I do think that a lot of the same things that I am doing right now also feed lends itself to even when you are starting out, with your very first what I want to say, even when you're starting out with your journey at the beginning. So some people might be in a phase where, you're just trying to grow in your career right now, which is pretty similar to me. But then you could also be at the very beginning of your career, which is very common for a lot of people that I teach and in our growth development community and things like that. So yeah, all of these initial episodes have kind of been themed around some of those foundational ideas. And today I was thinking about it like, what would be next? And I think it's fair to maybe cover the topic of like continuous learning, right? Obviously, I have like a thumbnail and all sort of kind of stuff and titles, so it's pretty obvious what I was going for with this. But yeah, it's that idea of continuous learning, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today: technology, strategies, and why you want to keep up to date on new technologies, and also, maybe just renew your spirit a bit if you are already a software engineer and this is something that you kind of feel like you're um, not getting the most out of the experience. Because for me, I know I have gone through periods of time where I felt like I was being stagnant, and other industries I feel like you can get away with that, but in software it's kind of like if you get to a point where you're not learning anything new, you're not doing anything new, um, either you can get bored or you can also end up in a situation where eventually your skill set is going to become outdated. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. So yeah, first and foremost, more than anything else, I think a lot of people are familiar with it. But if you're new to the industry, it's important to understand like our industry is always evolving. It's always new languages, there are always new frameworks, new tools are being introduced constantly, right? And it's a part of remaining relevant for us as developers to be adaptable and to embrace like a mindset of continuous learning. And so I think that maybe in general, the field does attract people that may already have that type of a mindset, right? Especially for those of us that are bootcamp students or we're self-taught. We have this mentality probably naturally to go out and seek out learning, seek out knowledge and things like that. But even if you have that mindset already, it still can be difficult once you get into the flow of things to just be very intentional about it and make sure that you are um, keeping a rhythm and a pace that's sustainable over time as well. So, yeah, it is something that we have to keep in mind. We have to be aware of in our industry, but it's not all about, well, let me see really quick. Yeah, I didn't turn the music off. Okay. So, but yeah, I just want us to kind of go into this phase, whether you're new to your career or whether you are transitioning, it doesn't matter. Just going into this next phase where you can keep in mind some being having a sustainable pace and being able to keep up with the industry and expanding your problem solving abilities. Those are really, really important for us, expanding our soft skills and exploring new areas of specialization as well. So for me, I am exploring a new area of specialization basically. So I'm taking the same fundamental elements that I have from my career in um, software in general, and I'm applying that over to AI and machine learning, but I'm also, branching out and learning more things. So that's just kind of where I am at this point, and I know a lot of people are in a similar state. So there are some practical things that you can think about when it comes to like just embracing the continuous learning that is a part of, the software development journey. And one thing that can be really effective is just having a dedicated time for learning. So setting aside some time, whether it's regularly each week, where you can like look into new technologies, take courses, work on personal projects, etc. In our minds, I feel like we always have it's like, yes, I'm going to work on this in theory. But in reality, what ends up happening is, life gets in the way, work gets in the way. Um, and you you'll find sometimes that you might be lacking or falling behind in particular areas that is important to you because you're not setting the time for it. So one way that I'm doing this right now, I have 100 days of code live streams. It's not just enough for me personally. It's not just enough to have 100 days of code, right? Because I know that even though I might say I'm going to have this time, um, other things will happen, and by the end of the day I'll be so tired I won't even get anything done. So for me, I add the extra layer. Not only am I doing this 100 days of code to kind of reset myself, but I also have my live streams, which is my way of holding myself accountable as well, because people know I'm supposed to show up for those, right? um, and this time around, I did also ask if people wanted to go about that journey with me, and that's really helpful. I'm really excited about that part because it makes a big difference for me to be able to do things in community and have like a little bit of a support group, again, for the accountability, but also for just giving each other encouragement and things like that. So if you have to set a time on your calendar, and then like I recommend the bonus of, not just having the time frame, but having somebody else who is going to help you remember that that's the thing that you're supposed to be doing, right? They're going to ask you about it and things. So I'm pretty good as far as in my friend group. I have a lot of people I can rely on for those types of things. If I know if I tell them I set a goal, they'll check in with me, and we kind of continue to push each other forward in that way. And so, to that point, learning from others is so crucial, so crucial. Um, so there's different ways you could do this. I guess I'm trying to think how I want to shape it. Like when I first got started, and again, I've been trying to take what I did at the beginning of my journey and reapply it now because so many of those things are really crucial and fundamental, regardless of the fact that I've been doing this for what, 7, 8 years now. I don't know. um, Engaging with the developer community. Now it's like there's so many different ways we could do that online. We have, Twitch streams and YouTube channels, but then you also have meetups and conferences and all these other things that allows you to be in community, have different interactions, share knowledge, collaborate, network, all those good things. So again, when I first got started in tech, my um my big thing was meetups, right? Like I was that person that was at every single meetup, every tech meetup, even before I started coding. I was a person who actually hosted and or coordinated with a lot of meetup organizers. So a lot of people would come to the place that I worked to host their events. So I would work with the organizers, help them get everything set up, and then I will also always be the person that welcomed everyone that was coming to the event to the actual location itself. And then I would sit in on all these different events. That's actually even how I got back into coding, because I sat in on a coding event and I'm like, this, like, it just hit different for me that time, even though it was not my first time taking a programming class. I actually took a programming class in college and it sucked. And I was like, I will never do this again. So that's been a game changer for me. It was a difference maker because that one class actually changed the whole trajectory of what I'm doing now, almost like 10 years later. So those are very important. And we are getting back to a time where a lot of things are, it's more things happening in person again. So like I've been getting back into conferences and things like that. So I think those are very, very, very important. You have different Discord communities, Slack communities, and things of that nature. So you can find meetup groups or user groups around particular technologies or languages that you're familiar with, or even tools and technologies that you want to become more familiar with, right? So I highly recommend that, especially. And then, just the idea of deliberate practice. So you want to set specific goals for yourself and break it down into manageable tasks. Okay. Um, it's one thing to make a goal, but if you don't like give yourself digestible chunks, it can be overwhelming. And a lot of times it can be hard to actually achieve that goal because you don't know the particular steps that you need to take in order to do to follow through. So yeah, like I'll just use examples from my life because that can be helpful. Like I said, with 100 days of code, what I chose to do for 100 days of code was not give myself too much to think about, not give myself, just give myself parameters and structure and something that's easy for me to follow so I can focus all my mental energy on acquiring the skills that I'm interested in and breaking it down. So for me, it's day by day. And then in addition to the courses that I chose to follow, at the very beginning, I think I chose like 5 or 6 big goals that I will focus on, right? So I have like um short-term goals, and then I have a milestone, and then I have another short-term goal and then a milestone, and all like maybe 5 or 6 things that's all building up to this one big goal, which is for me to, become a machine learning engineer. So yeah, there's different ways you can approach it. Like I also have a lot of experience in leadership roles and things of that nature. And when I have been in different leadership roles, I've gotten a lot of training on how to develop goals and things of that nature, and also more experience about like organizational goals, like nonprofits and things of that nature. Like how do we break down our goals for the year and how do we accomplish them? So I think that a lot of that definitely helped me, and I'm naturally a goal setter type of person. But even if you are not, there's different frameworks that you can use that will help you approach goal setting. So, I like the idea of SMART goals, SMART. Those can, like, if you look up the SMART goals framework, that can be very helpful as well. Or you can find a framework that actually, that you identify with. Just making sure that, again, you're taking those big goals and you're breaking them down into digestible tasks. So, like, whenever you do have some free time and you sit down to do something, it's easier for you to sit down and be like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. So, you have to think about it from that perspective. So, that is the goal setting side of things. And then, you know, when it comes to making sure that you have deliberate practice, that's what really is going to allow you to zone in on the areas that you want to improve in. So say you want to improve in algorithms or testing or design patterns, if you break down those skills into something that's smaller and more manageable, then you can master them over time. But when you just keep everything as one big general chunk, it's really, really difficult at that time, at that point. And so it's also worth covering that. Of course, we are expected to learn a lot of technical concepts. That's true, but you also want to think about the fact that um, when it comes to expanding your skill set, it's not all about technical goals, and now that's been my thing, y'all, for like the last like what 2 3 months I've been saying that it's not all about the technical side. The coding part, yes, that's one thing, but there's a lot of soft skills, there's a lot of career development, interpersonal development, communication, and things that is extremely important. And sometimes, especially in the tech field, avoid we might avoid those areas, or we might gloss over those areas. But I would say that a lot of my growth and development didn't really come from my technical skills. It more so came from how I worked on a team, how I communicated my leadership abilities and things of that nature, and how much I poured into that. And the tech side definitely helps, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it all comes together at the end of the day. And so I think that, like I said, for me, I was like, when I was back at university, my big thing was like I was a student leader. I took on leadership roles in different organizations, and I led events, and I got a lot of growth that way. I learned a lot of communication skills that way. I've been through a lot of training, Um, I think I do have a natural knack for stepping out front and, speaking out and taking initiative and things like that. But again, those are still all things that you can cultivate and develop over time. So you don't have to look at it from the perspective of, oh, you have to already be good at those things. You just have to think about whatever experiences you want to grow in, do the same thing that I talked about with the technical skills. Pick your goals and give yourself digestible things to do. So, for example, if you want to get better at public speaking, maybe you want to eventually do conference talks and things like that, or maybe you want to be a group organizer, but you don't feel comfortable. You can do other things. You can join groups where you can learn about doing public speaking. You can read books, you can go to conferences, all of that. Like the same stuff we could do for technical skills, we can do in our soft skills as well. And I think it's very important to, just think about the fact that all of our work environments nowadays are super collaborative, and especially so when it comes to being remote and being in this virtual friendly world. So, you can definitely shine brighter when you have the ability to express yourself, to interact with people, and it's nobody want to be that person that don't nobody want to come ask you a question or come talk to you because you don't know how to talk to people, or you might be off-putting to people, and you probably don't even mean it, but it's just that's something else that you have to invest in. So I do recommend keeping that in mind, especially when it comes to your career growth, because when you start wanting to be in leadership roles or senior roles, even though those might not come with management titles, a lot of times it does come with mentorship responsibilities and inter-team communication responsibilities, right? Customer and client communication responsibilities, things like that. And so sometimes it could be some of those particular skills that um, maybe you have an abundance of the technical side, but it's some of those soft skills that will help you go to the next level. Um, and then let's see, another thing that I would say is a challenge for a lot of people in the learning journey is just it's so much information, right? It can be super overwhelming. I know from personal experience. How do you know where to focus, and what do you focus on, and how do you navigate everything, effectively? And for me, I think like you can prioritize your learning on two things: relevance and interest. So I would say that maybe back like 5 years ago when I was first starting to get into AI and machine learning, I was very, very interested, but it wasn't super relevant to the things I was doing day to day. And that made it difficult for me. That also actually at that time made it a bit of a distraction. And so, I'm grateful because of the fact that I was able to come back to it, but I did decide at some point, not to focus as much on it. I always kept it at the back of my mind. I always kept up with certain types of things. I always did little, projects here and there, but I felt like at the time I still needed to establish myself technically as a software engineer. I still wanted to, get that general skill set down packed. So that's where I was at the time. And so now, I'm at a point where I feel like, okay, not only is this an area of interest, but it is my prime, like I'm making it relevant to my life because this is my primary focus now. And so yeah, you can think about those two things, relevance and interest. And you can also get guidance, right? So it's been helpful for me because I've always had mentors, even if you don't have somebody that's like, oh, hey, I'm technically your mentor. You have mentors, you have people that help you along the way, so you can get advice from them, right? People that have been there and done that. um I've gotten a lot of great leadership and mentorship from like my engineering director, from my team leads, from advisors. When I was in leadership roles, we always had advisors and things that folks that could help us out with the particular tasks that we were working on. So, for example, if I was running a conference and then we had conference advisors, of course, our advisors are there to help us run our conference, but those advisors were also there to be like, hey, okay, now I'm trying to do this in my career. Like, can you give me advice or can you help me out with this thing? A lot of those advisors that were, for a specific maybe for a specific moment in time, they became lifelong mentors and advisors because they're able to give you advice and recommendations across, a myriad of things in life. And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. And sometimes you just have to ask. And I would say one of the scariest, quote unquote, scariest looking people that I know that was an instructor to me, that I feel like is a mentor to me, that I've actually modeled a lot of things that I've done in my career after. When you look at him, he don't look like he want to be talked to. And maybe sometimes he don't want to be talked to, but then it's like once you start talking to him, you realize that's just, I don't know, that's just his face. And I get that too. Sometimes people will be like, you look so mean. And I'm like, how do I look mean? I'm just thinking, like, I don't know what I look like on a regular basis. But then usually when somebody comes to and talk to me, they realize like, oh, okay. So um just be open minded because there's a lot that you can learn from a lot of people, and a lot of people, they don't mind giving you advice, especially in the software industry. So there's a lot that you can do. And if you do have those different opportunities, like we said, maybe you do a camp, or you advise for a camp, or you teach classes for an organization, you work with a nonprofit or things like that. um, just because you met someone in one capacity, that doesn't limit you to only being able to, get advice from them and experience from them in that particular realm. So, I do want to wrap this up, I guess, and how. So, continuous learning needs to be a habit, right? And even habits have to be formed. They say it takes like 30 days to form a habit, or, it just depends on what you look at, what you read, what the statistics are. But doing something consistently, prioritizing it, and making sure you spend time on it. You don't have to start and make it super complicated, but just give yourself space to make improvements. Give yourself some accountability for how you can know that you're going to follow through on those things. Have mentors, have peers, have people that support you on that journey. Find a community if you don't have one. If you're here listening to this, you got a community. We right here, that I've been so grateful because with this 100 days of code, it, like, getting started was hard. Like, fitting that into everything else that I'm doing right now was a challenge, but I know it was important. But I also had just been appreciative because we made our channel in Discord. I invited some people. People actually were like, yeah, okay, cool, I'll do that with you. And so it's like we check in on each other and things like that. That makes a big deal. I think that that's very important for me. And as much as I like to be the person with heads on and just focused, as much as I think that um there's this mindset or mentality or maybe image that being in software is this thing where you just, it's a solo type of work. Even if you are a solo developer, it's not solo work. So you don't have to do things in isolation. And if you feel like you are, there's always opportunities to branch out and find the right community. So I think that that's very important and very helpful because this field is very dynamic. It's always changing. And again, as I mentioned, I do feel that as though somebody can agree with me, that disagree with me, that's okay. But I feel as though, in my experience, if you are at a point where either you're not getting, like, you're not learning anything new, or, yeah, if you're not learning anything new, you're not getting new skills, you're either going to get bored and or you're going like your skill set is going to become dated at some point because that's just kind of how our field works. So you can kind of see those as a sign that maybe it's something that should change. And you might be like me. For me, it's just like, shoot, when I get bored, it's over. Like I can't do that. Um, I seek out new things. I seek out new opportunities. I seek out new knowledge and things like that. So I tend to feel it internally whenever I'm stagnating, but at the same time, if you don't have that type of, inner monologue as I do, stop and take assessment of that every so often and see, have you come up on a new tool or a new skill, or and if not, how can you change that? And sometimes it can be just as simple as asking for new opportunities within your company, raising your hand and letting people know that there's something you're interested in. Because a lot of times there's things brewing under the surface, and you don't know that if you're not in the specific type of leadership roles, or you don't have a certain type of visibility, like, organizationally. But when you let the right people know what you're interested in, especially if you're in a good healthy working environment, then a lot of times you can actually get pulled into new opportunities as they're evolving. So speak out, say something, and then somebody can help you. But yeah, I know it's been very interesting. I don't know how this audio and recording was today because I cannot hear nothing coming out of StreamYard today. I don't know why, but we gonna figure it out. But this is the end of this episode. Although I'm going to just say that I am about to. There's an event, like I said, It started 10 minutes ago, and I really want to. It's being hosted by Weights and Biases. Which is like an AI machine learning training and development platform. But they're doing a nano GPT to train your own GPT model. So I'm about to swap over to that. And what I'm going to do is I am going to end the episode here. So if you have issues or things that you want to know about, things that you think I should talk about, definitely reach out to me. But if you want to stay tuned for my 100 days of code live stream today, just give me like 2 minutes, maybe less, and I'm about to swap over to my other software. So I'll be like right back on Twitch and right back on YouTube for my 100 days of code today. And I'll just be following that the Nano GPT uh guide and just trying to get something done. So I appreciate everybody for following live. And if you're gonna hang around, I'll see y'all again shortly.